All right, good morning, traders. Today is February 19th, 2026. My name, Coach Kerrigan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there, podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you so much for liking my content, following my content, subscribing to my content, leaving kind words on my content. Special shout out, Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted for sharing the content, helping get the good word out there to the World Wide Web. Appreciate that. Love that. That goes a long way for helping us. Thank you so much. All right, let's take a look at the markets. Before we take a look, we'll take a look at, we got members e-learning today. I think it's just going to be me and Ed, all right? The other two amigos, I think, are out for the day. So it's going to be Ed and I. I'm going to start at noon, and then Ed's going to follow up. He's got a nice slide presentation. You don't want to miss it. And I'll probably be talking about relevant strategies for the upcoming next 2 weeks. And I'll explain all that in the meeting, all right? If you want to know how to get there, just come on over here to your hit and run candlesticks page right here. Go over to your members page. Okay, just a second. All right, come on over here to your members page. All right, we're in this room right here. This is the BYOB Trading Room. Okay, you just log into this room right over here. And you can have both rooms open at the same time. All right, you can even listen to both rooms at the same time. All right, of course, one will be talking over the other, but you can have two rooms open at the same time. All right, so there you go, right there. You can have one room open on one device, the other room open on another device. It's up to you. All right, so you just hit this room to log into the combined e-room. Okay, so if you don't see me in the BYOB room, I'm going to be in the combined e-learning room, right? And to access, these are all recorded presentations, and to access them, they're right up here. You come up here to resources, e-learning replay. All right, and you'll see they're all recorded. There's about 10 videos on this page alone, and there's 34 pages of 10. So there's 340 pages right there. And then if that's not enough videos for learning, all right, we've even got more. We've got the public webinars. Okay, again, it's going to be 10 videos per page. Okay, all the way down. And you'll see we've got 20 pages of those. So there's another 200 videos. Okay, some of them are 13 minutes. Most of them are close to 50 minutes to an hour. All right, so there's another 200 videos on top of all that. All right, let's move this out of the way. All right, again, so that's where you know I'll be at noon. All right, today. All right, is in the combo room. So I probably won't be in the BYOB room. Probably want to see Ed's presentation too. So I'll probably be in there until he's done. All right. Okay, so my SPY pivot this morning, 685.50. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Diamond Dow made a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bearish trap and over the 17 EMA. SPY made a higher high and a higher low, closed over a bearish trap, but under the falling 17, under the flat 17. FNGU, QQQ, higher highs, higher lows, closing inside bearish traps, but under their 17 EMAs. IWM, higher low, higher high, closing above bearish trap over the 17 EMA. Very bullish there. SPY closed with 2-hour uptrend and a weak 2-candle 10-minute uptrend. Silver, higher low, higher high, closed inside a bearish trap, but under the flat 17 EMA. Gold, higher high, higher low, closed over a bearish trap and over the 17 EMA. Gold's ramping up again. USO in an uptrend. made a higher high and a higher low. Got to look at that candle. That was a nice candle yesterday. Okay, and it closed over the bullish cross. All right, so that'd be the 3 EMA crossing up over the 8 EMA and over the 17 EMA. UNG still in trouble, made a lower low, lower high, closed under a bearish trap and under the falling 17. US dollar index still in a downtrend, closed near the 97.70 area. SPY max pain, if they haven't changed it, still 682 with a put to call ratio of about 1.1 put for each call that expires today at 4:15. All right. This is your first time seeing this. These are all in bullish daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. These are all in bearish daily downtrends under the 17 EMA. They got a little star. They're building out a launch pad, or I call it a bull flag. I call it a launch pad. They call it a bull flag from which to launch higher, okay? If they got a little star over here, they're building out a platform. I call it a platform. It's a bear flag, all right, from which to dive lower, okay? So uptrends, downtrends, right there, okay? So let's take a look at the market. Let's back off of QQQ. Let's go, we'll take a look at SPY. Let's talk a little bit about yesterday, all right? Well, actually, we'll run through that situation in just a minute. Let's pick up the 10-minute chart, pick up a clean chart. And here we've got a 2-candle week 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. That was yesterday, okay? On the 2-hour chart. Okay, you can see the sticks and the 3 are riding no longer below it, they're riding above it. So we have a 2-hour uptrend coming into the close yesterday. Okay, on the daily candle, we got a higher low, we got a higher high. We closed, see, just over the 8 up there, so closed over the bearish trap. But you can see these green dots, they turn to red, and then back to green, and then back to red. Okay, so we closed under the flat 17 EMA right up here at the top of quadrant 4. All right, so we'll pan out. All right, and you can see this is the origin of our move back here in April. Price has moved up, and for the most part, it's bull flagging and consolidating over to the right since about the end of January, the end of December, since the beginning of this year. So up here, we're at the top of quadrant 4. So that's bullish. Anytime you're in the upper third, that's bullish up there. And we have a low here, and we made a lower low. So we're in a downtrend. Okay, currently in a downtrend. Remember, it's just a label. All right, in order to negate the downtrend, technically, okay, you have to make a higher high. Okay, there's the high to beat right there. Okay, so if they take out that high, they'll have themselves an uptrend and they will negate the downtrend. Currently, they're in a downtrend, and in the last 2 days, they're not moving down, they're actually moving up. See how they came down here, made the low, made the lower low, now they're moving up. Okay, so they're in a downtrend that's headed off in the other direction. So there's SPY on the daily chart. Weekly chart, see all the green dots? That's bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, we haven't made any lower lows on the weekly chart, so bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, monthly chart. Okay, see all the green dots? All right, that's the 17 EMA. So we're still bullish and in an uptrend. We haven't made any lower lows. Take a look at the game plan. All right. So here's our game plan for today. Okay, SPY game plan. We got green erases red over 689.15. We got the pivot 685.50. All right, above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. We got red erases green underneath 682. Okay, below it I'm a bear underneath that. Red erases green, that would be puts or bearish down there. So there's the SPY game plan. QQQ's got a game plan. Hold on, let me check something. I'll check back with that in a minute. Okay, so QQQ's got a game plan. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, so QQQ game plan here. Green erases red over 609.80. Pivot 606. Above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. Red erases green underneath 625. Okay, that's my red erases green entry. Okay, now both on QQQ and SPY, I like the Friday options on the multiple of 5. If you look at the option chain, you'll see that that the multiples of 5 have kind of more interest than the other off numbers. Okay, so I like the multiples of 5. Okay, so because today's Thursday, all right, it's going to be 1 DTE and 8 DTE. Okay, so I like the Friday options on the multiple of 5. Now I like it specifically as both QQQ and SPY. For both of them, it's mainly all about the open interest. All right, I like tight bid-ask spread. All right, now it's what you tend to get is a tight bid-ask spread when you have a lot of open interest in that particular strike or expiration option. Okay, so I like that. I like a nice tight bid-ask spread, so I don't have a lot of slippage. All right, if I get stopped out. Okay, so for that reason, plus if I want to get in, I'm not going to have to pay 50, 60 cents over the bid just to get in. All right, I don't like that. All right, I like get in just like a penny or two just over the bid. So for that reason, I choose the Friday options on the multiple of 5. I also choose the 0 DTEs. All right, so I like strikes. I like strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. Now they don't get the performance that an in the money option gets. All right, so when you got an in the money option, you're going to get penny for penny performance along with the underlying security. But if you have an out of the money, you don't get that. All right, but I'm willing. But also on the in the money options, you're going to pay up a whole lot more than you will, excuse me, than the out of the money options. Okay, so they'll cost you sometimes twice as much, 3 times. All right, for the in the money options. The out of the money options, all right, cost a lot less. All right, but I'm willing to give up some of that performance, all right, in order to maintain less risk. So for that reason, I choose the out of the money options. Okay, I like to trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like to trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Okay, so if a 10-minute downtrend were to manifest up here, all right, I'm not opposed to trading it. Just like to see it break the bearish 10-minute rubber band candle. I'm not opposed to trading a 10-minute uptrend down here long before it gets to the red erases, the green erases red entry, as long as it breaks the bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. Okay, so there's QQQ game plan and the SPY game plan. All right, so let's take a look at, well, speaking of big game plans, let's just talk a little bit about yesterday, okay? Because this is good stuff, all right? I want you to see this. Okay, so I'm going to go to my 3-minute chart. Okay? Now, I don't trade off the 3-minute chart, but I use it for reference. Okay, now I'm going to open this. I'm going to open this up kind of wide. All right, I'm actually going to zoom in here. I'm going to pan over. Okay. So if you look at the game plan from yesterday, all right, right there, over that, see this? Over that wick or that bearish engulfing right there, okay, that was my green erases red entry right there. Okay, if you followed the game plan, all right, if you took the time to look at the game plan, it was right there in black and white. Okay, so there was the game plan. Green erases red, that's my bullish entry. Okay, you want another clue? If you didn't watch the game plan, okay, see the gap fill, see how we're pennies away from the gap fill. This would have been the previous day's close. The bears failed to fill the gap by 7 cents. Really? Okay, that's a clue right there. Anytime the bears can't fill the gap or the bulls can't fill the gap and they come within pennies of filling the gap, all right, that's a big time clue. Big time clue, all right? That's telling you the bears have control of the digital football, all right? They have control of the game ball, all right? Right there. The bulls have control, okay? If I said bears, I meant bulls. All right, that's showing you right there that the bears couldn't complete the last 7 cents. All right, that's showing you bulls have control. All right, not to mention you got, look at this, you've got green erases red. There's the red candle because we opened up. Okay, we opened up right here. All right, and we only got as low as this area right here. Okay, and then the bulls came back and rallied it up over this red candle. Okay, then you got another pullback that starts here and it comes down and makes a higher low right here. Okay, and the bulls rally that up over the green erases red entry right there. There's your entry right there. Right on this big candle that just swoops up over this red candle here and these candles in this hump right here. Okay? All right? And I don't know if you guys were with me yesterday morning. I said I made 3 daily goals in the first half hour. That was it right there. This trade right here. 3 daily goals, 30 minutes. Done. Okay? You want to pick a target? Let's pick targets, okay? Because this one was an easy target. Go to the 15-minute chart. Okay, let's pick up the game plan. Okay, here's your 15-minute chart. I'm going to pan over. Okay, this is the all-time high anchored VWAP. Right there. There's your target. Easy peasy. It was easy yesterday. It was super easy, all right? You had clues everywhere, all right? On the 3-minute chart, like I said, the bears failing to fill the gap. Okay, if that wasn't enough, look at this. We got the PPO on the 15-minute chart. Okay, right here at the open is up over, it's 0.05 or better. Okay, what was it? That's the second candle, 0.07. Is the first one, 0.05. Okay, so after the first 15 minutes, you had confirmation. All right, you can see the candles begin to grow on the histogram. Okay, as soon as they stop growing right here, there's your take profit right there. Okay, you don't even need this. Okay, you don't even need the all-time high anchored VWAP. Soon as the candles stop growing, that's it, get out. Okay, right there. You had clues everywhere, all right? So, the bulls have the digital game ball. All right, I'm going to continue to be bullish till they show me they don't have it anymore. That's it. All right? So coming in today, I will be trading long trades, all right? I'll look for the bottom. When I find the bottom, find that 10-minute trend that's going up, or I'll find the the green erase is red, and I'll trade that, all right? I will continue to trade bullish until the bulls tell me they no longer hold the digital game ball, all right? That's it. The bulls have the ball. They just said, we have control by doing this yesterday, okay? Not letting the bears fill that gap that was only inches away. That's like being down at the end zone, all right, with the game ball, all right, in the big game, all right, and you only got a foot to move it, and you got 5 tries or 4 tries to get it in, and you missed on all 4, okay? All right, that's showing you who's got control. All right, that's what happened. The bears failed to punch it in. All right, that was it. Gap fill. These are magnetic. All right, by nature, gap fills are magnetic. Anytime you see a failure that comes that close to filling the gap and misses, that's a huge clue. All right, go check out your PPO. You see that it's up over 0.05. Boom, it's game time. All right, you don't even need a target. You just trade till the candles or the histogram stop growing. That's it. Then get out. All right, right there. See how it's up over the 9 EMA? That's it. Get out. You don't have to wait till it crosses under. Okay, now if that wasn't enough, okay, just saying, if that wasn't enough, okay, on top of all of that, okay, on top of all of that, okay, this is what I'm telling you. This is like an awesome place to be here in the BYOB Trading Room. Okay. Okay. On top of all of that, okay. Now this is John $. All right. You guys all see him. He don't talk much in the room. All right. When he does talk, it's like E.F. Hutton. All right. Everybody listens. All right. He don't talk much. Okay. He had a game plan as well. All right. There it was. Bullish above the pivot. Buy above. All right. His game plan worked out just as much. So you don't like my game plan? No problem. I'm not hurt. All right. But John shared a game plan that worked out just as well. All right, so you had 2 game plans. You had one from me and you had one from John on the QQQ. I had one for SPY. All right, we share it with you every morning. It's right up there in the chat log. All right, it was like easy yesterday. Easy. All right, there's no reason that you couldn't make your daily goal yesterday. It was easy. I think I made my daily goal with less than 2% risk on there. Okay? 3 daily goals in the first 30 minutes. All right? So it was easy. All right? So this is my plan for today. Okay? I'm going to look for a bullish 10-minute uptrend. That's my plan. Why? Because the bulls have shown me that they have the digital game ball. Until they show me they don't have it, I'm going to continue to trade long. As long as they continue to make higher lows and higher highs, I'm going to stay bullish, all right? If they fail to do that, then I have to change my bias, all right? But until then, I'm going to continue to trade long, excuse me, as long as they have I have a bullish bias and they continue to provide higher lows and higher highs. All right, so how am I going to trade this morning? All right, let's take a look. Now it's not looking so good, is it? We got consolidation under consolidation, okay? We've got consolidation. This is the post-market from yesterday. This is the pre-market from today. Consolidation under consolidation, all right? We had a weak 2-candle uptrend yesterday. Right there. A weak 2-candle uptrend. I would like to trade a continuation of that 10-minute candle right here. Okay, we'll see what happens, all right? As long as the bears don't come down here and fill the gap that they missed yesterday, I'm going to continue to be bullish, all right? If they happen to fill the gap from yesterday, I will trade my red, erases green, price below 682 with some puts down here. All right? If they just spike it and then reverse, I'll look for them to make a reverse back to the pivot. That's my plan this morning, is wait for the 10-minute uptrend. And it might not happen till 2:30. I don't know. It might happen at noon. It might happen at 10:30. I don't know. We might not get a 10-minute uptrend all day long. That's a possibility too if they fill the gap that they failed to fill yesterday. All right, that's just saying, that's how I plan to trade for today on SPY and QQQ. All right, so let's go back. Let's take a look at the rest of the market now that you got my game plan. Do I have a bearish bias? I have a neutral bias right here because we've got consolidation under prior consolidation. All right, but we did leave off with a higher low. If they happen to fill the gap, we won't have that higher low. That will be a continuation of their 10-minute downtrend, all right, from yesterday, okay? Now look at yesterday at the very end of the day. See how the bulls came in and rallied price back to VWAP, okay? Why is that happening? I'll tell you why, all right? I got a hunch on why it is, all right? I'm going to take you there right now. Here's FNGU. Here's the daily chart of the FNGU. Okay? This is our high to the low. This is our Fibonacci retracement. They just hit the 618 Fibonacci retracement. On top of that, you guys know how I trade the quad lines. Okay? Upper third is bullish. Lower third is bearish. Okay? So they're coming down to the top of the bearish 1/3. And notice the candle. It's a green candle bouncing away from the support right here at the neckline. All right, right there at the neckline, bouncing back. Where do I expect price to go? Right back up here to the all-time high anchored VWAP. Will it get there by today? Probably not. Probably take a month and a half to get there. All right, the way this thing's moving, and it very well could happen, this week. I don't know, but we got price. This is a daily candle, is bouncing away from and passing back up through the 618 Fibonacci retracement. So I'm expecting it to get back to the midpoint, maybe consolidate on top, and then make their way back to the all-time high anchored VWAP way up there, where the upper third commences right up in here. All right, so there's FNGU. That's the reason we're bouncing, okay, because the big stocks, the heavyweights are finally all moving together, or they're moving higher, all right? So we'll see what happens, all right? They could break down through this. I don't know, all right? But right now, got a little bounce going on. We got on the FNGU 1-hour chart. Let's just look at it. Okay, we left off with 1-hour uptrend, 2-hour chart. Okay, got left off with 2-hour uptrend. Daily chart, still in a downtrend, but the 2-hour got a little uptrend happening right through here. Okay, so we got a little high up there. They still haven't made a higher high than here, but they do have the 3 EMAs up over the 8 EMA. All right, showing you an uptrend is in progress. All right, so that's FNGU. All right, let's go back and take a look at the daily candles. And let's take a look at IWM. And we'll look at it on the daily chart. So IWM yesterday, what do I want? I want this one right here. Push this down. Get the daily candle. Get the scratch. Higher low, higher high. Closing over the all-time high, the pink line, the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, look at its closing. Here's the quad lines. Remember, this is our April origin at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. All right, they haven't made a lower low, so that's bullish and then an uptrend. IWM. All right, QQQ. QQQ got a higher low, higher high, closed inside the bearish trap. See the sticks and the 3 riding under the 8 inside a bearish trap under the flat 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. They got a low here. They made a lower low, still in a downtrend. So currently in the upper third, so it's bullish. Okay, remember we have a bull flag up here and then over to the right. So that's bullish, but in a downtrend. Currently, QQQ. SPY, same deal, right? Okay, higher low, higher high, closing over, bearish trap, under flat 17, top, quadrant 4, so that's bullish. Okay, same thing. Got a bull flag. That's bullish. All right. But here's the low. They made a lower low in a downtrend. Let's take a look at diamond down. Okay, higher low, higher high. Everybody got the higher low, higher high. Okay, yesterday. Closing over bearish trap. Closing over the 17. Closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, near the top of quadrant 4. Here's our April low. Okay, that's bullish. Still in an uptrend. Let's take a look at Stinker. All right, Stinker. See how Stinker looks totally different? Does not look like the other 4, right? Okay, now if this starts going in the right direction, imagine the help that could give the other 4 if this just started moving in the other direction instead of melting down, started to melt up. All right, let's take a look at this. We'll put the quad lines on there. Here's yesterday's candle. Higher low, higher high. Closing inside a bearish trap under the falling 17 and under the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, this is the lower third. All right, we're clearly not in the upper third. We're clearly not in the lower third. So this is neutral. Still in a downtrend. They haven't made a higher high yet. They're bouncing. We'll see how far they want to bounce it. Okay, so that's Stinker on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold. So here's silver. Yesterday's candle. Higher low, higher high. Closing in the bearish trap. Closing under the falling 17 or the flat 17. Clearly not in the upper third. That would be above the crosshairs. Clearly not in the lower third. That would be below the crosshairs. Okay, so it's neutral. There's a low. There's a low. They made a lower low and in a downtrend. Until they make a higher high, they'll remain in a downtrend. So there's silver. Okay, neutral and in a downtrend. Let's take a look at gold. All right, here's the origin, 2022. Okay, this is where it all starts. And then they start melting up, and then they get kind of hyperbolic right through here. Okay, so price action for yesterday, this candle, higher low, higher high. They closed over a bearish trap. They closed over the flat 17. See the dots? Okay, they closed under the all-time high anchored VWAP. They're in the middle of quadrant 4, so clearly in the upper third. So they're bullish, all right? But they have not made a lower low. So there's bullish and in an uptrend. They remain bullish and in an uptrend for gold. Okay, let's take a look at USO. USO put in a fabulous candle yesterday. Got a little follow through on that one too. Higher low, higher high, closing over. See the 3 crosses up over the 8? Okay, so closing over the bullish cross, over the rising 17. Okay, let's take a look at this. We'll pan way out. Okay, so here's the quad lines. Quadrant 4, that's bullish, way up there. Okay, this right here is the 4-year high anchored VWAP. It's a post-COVID high. Okay, so they are in quadrant 4, so that's bullish. All right, and they have not made lower lows, so they're still in an uptrend. So bullish and in an uptrend. That's USO on the daily chart. Let's take a look at UNG. Okay, UNG, lower high, lower low, closing under bearish trap. Closing under falling 17. Closing under 12-month high anchored VWAP. Okay? All the way down here, quadrant 1. That's bearish. All right, and you can see they made a low here, rallied back over the 17, and then made a lower low. So bearish and back in a downtrend for UNG on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at the technicals, T2101. Market moved up yesterday and we had less participation. Not a good sign. Not liking that at all. I'm a bull, so I'm not liking that. I want to see the market move up and participation increase, not decrease. Okay, T2122. You can see price action made an equal low on the 17th, and then on the 18th, they climbed up through the buyer's chop zone to camp out inside the buy zone all day. So nice work on T2122. Let's take a look at T2123. Notice the high, they made a higher high. I like that. All right, so let's take a look at T2123. I see a move up and then over to the right, holding the higher ground. It's always bullish in my book. Okay, see how price moves up and then holds the higher ground, then moves up and then holds the higher ground. Okay, I'm up over, this is the 15-minute chart. I'm up over the rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. All right, we have a high. We have a high. We have a higher high. That means we're in an uptrend. We have not made a lower low. If the candle, so the price happens to come back here, take out this low that pops below the 17 EMA, that would be bearish. That would be a downtrend, not bearish, but that would be a downtrend. Okay, notice the bullish gap. The bears never fill the gap all day long. Okay, the bulls have the ball until they show us they lost it or they fumbled it. All right, until then, the bulls have the ball. Notice the bulls had the ball here. They gapped up, but look what happened. The bears filled the gap. Obviously, they lost control of the ball. Same thing here. They gapped up, but they failed to fill the gap there. So that remained bullish. But right here, they came back through, filled the gap. All right, so we're looking for the bulls to prevent another gap fill right here for today. Excuse me, T2123, 3-bar chart. Here's our April low. This is our rally. We make an all-time high, a new all-time high right here. That was the old one. This was the new one. All right, we pull back 2. See the neckline on the head and shoulders pattern from right here? Hit the neckline, bounce back up through. We're over a curling or a rising 200 SMA. Okay, look how we rise up. Well, first we consolidate, and then we rise up to make a higher high. See the higher low? The bulls get inspired to make the higher high. So we'll see if that happens again today on the smaller time frame. So you can see price at the top of quadrant 4. Remember, this is our April low. That's clearly bullish, 3-bar chart, and in an uptrend right there in T2123. FNGU, here's stinker on the 15. All right, price action. All right, 4 yesterday was the 18th. Okay, so we traded up, not clearly holding higher ground. This does not look like this. See how this looks? Clearly holding the higher ground. Notice this does not look like that. Kind of rolling over here at the end of the day. All right? But I like to see that they're up over this neckline right here. So hopefully they start heading back in the other direction. This would be the head. That would be the right shoulder. This would be the left shoulder. This would be the neck on the left side, neck on the right side. We got up through it. Hopefully we can rise up through this falling 200 SMA. Okay, so the next move for FNGU, get on top of the falling 200 SMA and consolidate up there. Doesn't look like they can do it right now. We'll see what happens when the market opens. So there's 15-minute chart for FNGU. They are currently, there's a low, there's a higher low, there's a high. There's a higher high. They're currently in an uptrend on FNG 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at the technicals. Sorry about this cough. Start with earnings. Okay, the big boy reports today. Walmart, $1 trillion here in the morning. Alibaba reports later today. $358 billion. Deere and Company, $162 billion. They're going to report this morning. Newmont, $133 billion. They report this evening. Southern Company, $101 billion. All eyes are probably going to be on Walmart. It's $1 trillion of market cap. That's quite a bit. That's a market mover. All right. Other than that, the rest of them, not really market movers, but they will watch those for guidance or clues as to what the market's doing. So these aren't real market movers, but Walmart is. On the 20th, that'd be tomorrow. A lot of familiar names, but nothing here that's going to move the markets. So all buys will be on Walmart. Now, if there were a tech company like Intel or somebody that makes chips, believe it or not, they would have more influence on the market than, even a Walmart. All right? Even a $1 trillion retailer, okay? If you had a tech company, even though it had less market cap than Walmart, they would have more influence, all right? This market is driven by technology as far as QQQ and SPY goes, all right? The IWM, not so much, all right? But as far as tech goes, when it comes to QQQ and SPY, tech has more influence than even the biggest retailers sometimes. All right, so always keep an eye out to see which one of them is tech. Like Alibaba, be a lot of eyes on that. Not to say that Walmart doesn't have a digital website as well that's doing just as well as Alibaba. Anyways, let's go take a look at Max Payne for today. Hopefully they don't change it on me. Let's see what happens. So that's the 18th. We need to get the 19th. All right, Max Payne. It's not 682, it's 686. And the put to call ratio is 1.4 puts for each call that expires today. Okay, so 680, 686 and 1.4 puts for each call. So not much of a put squeeze. And I think 686, we're right hanging around in that area right now anyways. All right, so there's the economic calendar for today. We got international trade goods and services, 8:30, jobless claims, 8:30, Philly Fed manufacturing, 8:30, pending home sales, 10:30, a delayed report, leading indicators at 10, natural gas at 10:30. Okay, the headliner this week was two of them. We had FOMC minutes yesterday at 2. The big one for me is going to be, GDP at 8:30, right there. Okay, this is going to show us if how we're doing in selling our goods and services overseas. Now, we've had a weak dollar. Okay, if we come up here to the U.S. dollar index, you can see there's the 2025 high. We're in a bear flag. See how price moves down and then over to the right. So we're in a big bear flag. And in addition to being in the big bear flag, we're also in a downtrend because you can see there's a high, there's a low. We made a lower high and a lower low. So we're in a downtrend right now. But we've been moving up for the last 7 days. So here's the candle. So we closed around the 97.70 area yesterday on the U.S. dollar index. So with the dollar still being in this downtrend, I'm kind of expecting, and I may be getting too far ahead of myself. All right, GDP to have should be some decent numbers. 3.0, 3.5, 4.0. Those are all good numbers. Anything over that would be awesome. All right? But if we could get 3.0, that would be great. All right, for tomorrow, personal income and outlays. It's a delayed report. 8:30 PMI composite flash. 9:45 new home sales. Another delayed report. 10 o'clock and another delayed report of new home sales. Consumer sentiment at 10 and a rig count at 1. All right, that's it for me for today. All right, I will see you all when I open up the market here in 30 minutes. Again, the Bulls have the digital football. Okay, so I'm looking for a 10-minute uptrend. All right, I'm actually looking for a 3-minute uptrend to manifest into a 10-minute uptrend. All right, so that's what I'll be looking for this morning. All right, traders, that's it. I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes here.